This is a low hormone leg and glute day for the menstrual phase. This is a heavy strength workout where we're taking advantage of our menstrual phase physiology, where hormones are a bit lower. We don't have as much hormonal interference, so there's better recovery. We have quicker sweating, as you will see through this workout. And we can tap into a bit of the anabolic response that's present in the body, where we can build stronger muscle. We can lay the foundation with heavier weight in this phase to support metabolism, to support muscle building, and maintaining that muscle mass as we enter the second half of this cycle. So in today's workout, we have 3 circuits of strength work. The first 2 circuits have both a bilateral exercise where we're using both legs at once and a unilateral exercise. And then our last circuit has just 2 bilateral exercises. Each one of these presents an opportunity to go up in weight. If that's where you are, if you've been in the strength training practice for a while and you're ready to kind of break through your next edge, you're ready to shift that growth point, this is a good opportunity. This is a great workout for that. I'm sharing a bit of my personal journey with you in going up in weight. I'm using heavier weights today, and you will see that. You will see that in the practice, in the breath, in the struggle. That's the challenge that comes with adding some resistance. We are using intervals in this practice, but simply to create the structure and the container of the workout. So don't let that create any rush or urgency in your movements. Really let your body and your energy dictate the pace. So you'll see for me, I'm moving very slowly, very intentionally, and the 40-second intervals are just enough to kind of hit that maxed out point. So we have 40-second working intervals with 20 seconds of rest. We're completing each exercise set in 3 rounds before moving on to the next circuit. Like I said, grab your heavy weights if you can. I'm using a set of 30-pound weights, and then you'll notice throughout the workout as my grip starts to fatigue and you feel a bit of the strain in the shoulders, I'm dropping down to a single weight. So you might have a heavy set and then a lighter set, or you can always use that option of dropping down to dumbbells, to 1 dumbbell. We also have a movement pattern where we are elevating the heels. So there's a couple options for that. You can use a single dumbbell to lift the heels up. You can use the bottom stair of a staircase, maybe a really thick book or a box, something that just can support your weight and can give you a place to rest the heels so that you can focus more of the exertion into the ball of the foot. That'll help us target the quadriceps. Today's practice also has a bonus glute burnout. So the practice itself, the workout, is about 26 minutes long, and then we have a 5-minute glute burnout at the end. For that burnout, if you choose to use it, you'll need a resistance band. So something that's pretty strong that creates a bit of resistance for the glutes. I'm using a fabric band. You can also use a headband or a really thick sports bra, whatever you choose. You can also do it body weight only. You'll still kind of feel that burn, that cumulative heat in the glutes, especially at the end of this heavy strength workout. We have a quick 5-minute warm-up and a bit of cooling movement at the end, so this is a complete practice, but as always, I will include the time stamps below, the relevant timing, so that if you're coming in warm and you want to skip straight to the workout, or maybe you want to skip the burnout and go straight to the cool down, those timestamps will be available for you to navigate and kind of move your way around this video. As requested, I've also provided a tutorial at the beginning of the video where I'll break down each of the movement patterns in detail, so you can get a few mechanic notes, a few kind of form cues to keep in mind as you get into the practice itself. I'll also be walking you through it, but it's nice to have that foundation if you can watch the tutorial ahead of your workout or at the beginning of your workout, so that you're not having to really think about all those moving pieces as the timer is going. You can really just drop into the strength work and be present for that effort. So let's get started with our workout. Before we jump into our workout today, I'm going to run through the movement patterns that make up this practice so that you can have the mechanics, the form, all in your body before this timer begins. So our first movement pattern is a heels lifted goblet squat. So you'll have a single pair of dumbbells, preferably something very heavy, very challenging for you. And for the heels elevated, you can use one of the dumbbells or any elevated surface. So it can be a book, a block, something that just gets your heels off the ground. And you want to have a narrow stance here. So parallel the feet, parallel the legs. You'll have the goblet hold with your single dumbbell. So you're holding the top of the dumbbell, shoulders are back and down. low ribs and hip points are drawing together to support the core all the way around. From here, keep the back upright, the heart elevated, and we simply squat down. If you can, tap elbows to knees and then press up. So you're trying to focus the effort on the ball of the foot. So you're pressing through the ball of the foot, light weight in the heel. That'll help focus this movement pattern on the quads. So that's our goblet squat. If you have heavy dumbbells, you can get away with a single. If you are working with a lighter set of dumbbells, I'd recommend using something else for your elevated surface. You can use the bottom stair on your staircase and then load yourself up with both dumbbells for that movement. Our next pattern, the unilateral pattern to go with the goblet squat here, is a simple split squat. So we're having a nice close stance. We take one foot back, and you want the knee to come straight up and straight down. So it comes down and then back up, aiming for a 90-degree bend in both legs as you come down. So shoulders, belly, and hips in one line. So from the crown to the tail, that axis moves up and down in one straight line. You can gently tap your knee on the floor behind you or let it hover. So that one will become very challenging, especially if you have gone up in weight, if you're using this workout to be that bridge to your next weight selection. So that is our first circuit, and then we'll have a minute rest in between. Our second circuit begins with our sumo squat. So again, here you can have both dumbbells. You'll have your feet nice and wide, toes turn out, heels turn in. And depending on the size of your dumbbells, you might have them down in front, you might have them at your shoulders. From here, we're going to take the knees out and wide and simply lower down and back up. As you come up, hug the heels into the midline as if you were trying to bend or create a ripple in the center of your mat. Again, here, crown to tail moves as a unit, up and down in one straight line. Our unilateral pattern to pair with the sumo squat is going to be a lateral lunge. So this one, you can adjust your weights accordingly. If you have a slightly lighter set, that can be beneficial, as this one can get very challenging with heavy weight. So you can have the weights, again, same as with the sumo squat, either down low, or you can have them at your shoulders if your weight selection is light enough to get them up there. For the lateral lunge, we're simply moving out to the side and back up. So you're sitting back and down, almost like a squat into the working leg, and then pressing up with the heel. Again, shoulders and chest stay elevated, and the upper body moves as a unit. That's our lateral lunge. We'll perform each side individually so that you can really burn out the legs in that movement pattern. That's our second circuit. We'll have a minute rest. And our final circuit is just 2 exercises, both bilateral. We'll start with our straight leg deadlift, Romanian deadlift here. So you'll begin at the top of the movement, shoulders roll down the back, nice and relaxed, low ribs and hip points together. You want a gentle bend in the knees and then focus on the hip hinge. So as you lower, it's the hips hinging that creates that movement, that mobility. And then you drive through the heels to come up. So we're hinging at the hips. The legs stay more or less straight. And the key here, I'll demonstrate without weight for a moment. The key is to keep your hips and your glutes aligned with the ankles. So we're not going really far back. That can create a lot of tension on the insertion point of the hamstring. Instead, the hip hinge allows your hips to stay more or less over your heels and ankles as you lower down. So it's that gentle bend in the knees, and then we come up. For our final movement pattern, it's a glute bridge. Depending on your weight, again, you might be working with one or both dumbbells. And for the glute bridge, knees are bent. We're lowering down to the back. You have your weight either in the hip creases or kind of right on the hip bones there, depending on your weight selection. The shoulders are away from the ears. I want you to keep your hip points and low ribs joined together so you have that tone in the belly before the movement begins. And then we drive through the heels to lift up. Notice for flaring the ribs here. So you don't want to arch the low back excessively. You want to keep that engagement in the belly here. And then we lower down. You want your head and neck to stay neutral the whole time. Up and down. So that's our final circuit there. with 2 movement patterns. And we have an optional burnout at the end, but I'll just walk you through that as that time approaches. For that burnout, you will need a resistance band that we're using just above the knees, so you can have that ready to jump right into the burnout if you're adding that to your workout when we complete the circuit work, the circuit strength work. So those are our movement patterns for today, and we'll get started now with our warm-up. We'll start our warm-up here in just a few moments. We just have 5 movement patterns that we're using for this warm-up to kind of mirror the actions that we're going to be adding weight to in the workout itself. So our first movement here is just a simple air squat. So the feet are a bit wider than hips width distance, toes turned out, heels turned in. We're simply squatting down and up. Add a gentle squeeze to the midline through the legs as you come up. Keep the shoulders relaxed, the head and heart elevated. So you want your gaze kind of out in front of you. Avoid that temptation to just gaze down at the floor. That can drop your energy levels pretty quickly. So we're simply squatting down and up, increasing circulation in the legs, maybe elevating the heart rate a bit. And we're using this kind of as a pre-exhaust for the legs. So we're using the stabilizing muscles, we're kind of exhausting the smaller muscles so that as we add the heavier weights, we're recruiting the bigger muscles to do the heavy lifting. A few more reps here, and then we'll switch to our alternating reverse lunge with a bit of movement for the arms. Let's go in 10, 9, 5 more seconds here, and switch. So now stepping back with a reverse lunge, and just circle the arms however it feels best. So you can do complete circles, maybe half circles one direction, and then the other. Just preparing for the lunging movement pattern. So not a huge step back, just keeping that distance short so that you can generate power to come up. Again, low ribs and hip points drawing together so the core is stable, even as you're lifting the arms overhead, even as you're lengthening up through the spine. You can create that length while keeping the belly engaged so it supports you in movement the whole way through. We've got 10 more seconds here. Connect with your breath, so in and out through the nose where you can, exhaling through the mouth to release heat, and switch. Come to a wide lunge here. We're working into our sumo squat, so heels in, toes out, reach up, and pull the elbows in. Nice and low here, just kind of stretching the hips, the inner thighs. We'll come back to this shape in the legs in our second circuit. So we reach the arms up, pull the elbows in. You got this. Here for about 30 more seconds. Keep the knees nice and wide, tracking over the ankles. Make sure you can see your big toe, even as you come into the depth of the movement. Again here, especially as you take the arms overhead, keep that belly engaged and strong. Breathing, use this warm-up to really create that foundation of breath. So you're moving the diaphragm, you're letting the lungs expand. So it's that deep breathing to support your movement. Now we're keeping the legs wide, coming into an alternating lateral lunge with a press. And this need not be very quick. You can kind of slow it down to really benefit from the stretch in the inner thighs. Just kind of befriending this pattern for me in this workout. The lateral lunge is the one that gets me every time. So I'm having that sort of conversation internally here that kind of befriends this pattern, this movement in the inner thighs to tap into deeper levels of strength. We've got one more movement after this. In about 10 seconds, we'll be switching to our deadlift movement pattern with a deep squat in 3, 2, 1. From here, I want you to simply touch the toes with the knees slightly bent, and then bend the knees back. So we're moving from that deadlift position into a deep squat. Really warming the knees here, the spine, relaxing the head and neck as you fold, pressing through the heels as you come up and down. Breathing here. Last movement. We've got about 30 more seconds of this warm-up, and then we'll jump right in. Our workout is short and sweet today, just 26 minutes of solid strength work. Last 10 seconds here. Especially as we move through this head down position, make sure you come up slowly, rise to the top, shake out your legs, and we will get started with our workout now. We'll jump right into our workout here. Have your elevated surface set up for the heels elevated goblet squat here. We have 40 seconds of work and 20 seconds of rest. We're going heavy for this phase, this low hormone phase, to take advantage of physiology. So if you're going heavy, 40 seconds should be plenty, and you should be loving every second of the 20-second rest. Here we go. Let's begin. So we squat low, tap elbows to knees, and drive up. Keep the belly hugging in, chest stays nice and elevated, and up. Again, if you missed the tutorial, if you are working with lighter weights, you can always swap out the dumbbell for your elevated surface and instead use the bottom stair in a staircase. You can use a yoga block, really so that you can load the legs, especially in these bilateral patterns. You want to be able to go heavy for the full 40-second interval. 5 seconds more. Coming up to our rest. And rest. Switching up now for the split squat. So you have both dumbbells ready. This one, we're doing each leg for a full interval. So I'll start with the left leg forward. We'll go in 5. Nice short stance here so you have that power. 2, 1, let's go. So the knee comes straight down and straight up. I'll share a bit of my journey with you. I am increasing weight for this workout. So you might hear that reflected in my breath. You might see that reflected in my pace. Really trying to work through the plateau in strength. And this is a great workout for going up in weight because it is simple, it is effective. So you don't want to really experiment and rest with heavier weights and new movement patterns at the same time. So this workout keeps it very simple. We're using basic mechanics here to really target the large muscle groups in the legs. Going in 5, 3, 2, 1. Other side here, split squat. Here we go. So we're really taking advantage too of our warm-up with the pre-exhaust. So the smaller muscle groups may be already a bit fatigued from that body weight warm-up. And now we're relying on the large movers for building strength, for laying that foundation. 10 more seconds here. Gotta love it. In the low hormone phase, sweating happens quickly. I already start to feel that rest, that bit of a glow happening. Setting up for your goblet squat. Heels are elevated. We'll go in 5 more seconds. Set it up here and begin. Squat low, drive it up. You got this. So in this phase, your cooling happens very efficiently. We have higher plasma volume. So lots of things that create the physiology for higher intensity, for building strength, for kind of pushing through those plateaus. This is great in the first half of the cycle, even in the menstrual phase, after your energy levels return, maybe day 3, day 4, day 5, where you can dip your toes, rest in some heavy strength. Switching it up now for the split squat. I'll start with the left leg forward. Switching this way so that I'm not watching the timer the entire time. As it starts to get heavy, we'll go in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. And up. Squat down and up. So it's a straight up and down with the axis of the spine. We're not lunging forward or back. We're focusing on driving through that front heel. And if you're thinking about the weight distribution, it's more in the front leg. Back leg, just supporting the movement, creating the balance that you need. Breathe here and rest. Set those weights down. We'll switch sides. We're coming to the end of our second round now. Going in 10 seconds. So really gather your breath. Let your body recover as much as it can during this rest interval. And we'll begin. Come down and press up through that front heel. You got this. This is a short workout today. Just 26 minutes for the main portion. And then an optional glute burnout at the end if you're still feeling a little bit of energy in the tank. It's a low impact burnout that we're using resistance bands for. So something that is sustainable at the end of a really intense strength training workout. Last few reps here and rest. Set those weights down, shake it out. So really breathing through here during these resting periods to let your muscles recover. We do have quicker recovery in this phase, but you still want to make sure that you're giving yourself plenty of time and begin. So if you need to hit the pause button, if you find that you're excessively breathless, you need to take a sip of water, you can always pause and jump back in when you're ready. Using the timer really just to create the structure of the workout. So with these heavier weights, we're not looking for excessive speed. We're really just focusing on that impeccable form as you maybe explore a heavier weight range and rest. Last round of our split squats here before we have a full minute to rest and recover. Left leg is forward, right leg is back. Let's begin. Here we go. Down and up. Down and up. Stay strong through the end. Feel your low ribs magnetize to your hip points. So you have that slight anterior pelvic tilt. Posterior pelvic tilt where you're curling the tail under. So you're drawing the hip points and the low ribs together. Even as I do that, I feel the legs fire even a bit more because I'm able to stay in the proper form, loading the legs exactly how you want to, and rest. So that pelvic tilt, we're not really tucking the tailbone under, but coming into more of a neutral. So you're really hugging the hip points and the low ribs into each other. Last round of these split squats. Here we go. Grab your weights. And let's begin. Down and up. If you notice that your grip strength starts to fatigue, particularly when you go up in weight, you can always drop down to a single dumbbell or a lighter set of weights. I know for me, with the heavier weights, it does tend to create some strain in the shoulders and neck. So just be mindful of those elements. And it's still a challenge, even if you only do one round with your heavier weight selection, you're creating the adaptation. And rest. Set those weights down. So we have a full minute of rest. So we're using an entire interval to let the body come back down to its baseline. You might shake out the legs a little bit. We're moving next into our second circuit, which starts with a lateral lunge. Starts with our sumo squat. So we start with the bilateral movement pattern and then go side to side. So have your weights ready. You might be shifting after that first circuit if you're like me and you're feeling pretty toasty in the legs. You can always shift down in weights, make those adjustments during this 1 minute resting interval. We've got about 30 more seconds. You might stretch out your shoulders a little bit here, maybe a bit of a wrist release, especially as the weights are heavy. Shake them out. All right, we have 15 seconds of rest left here. Take a big breath in. Sigh it out. Grabbing the weights, preparing for your sumo squat here. And we'll go in 3, 2, 1. So we squat down, drag the heels to the middle as you come up. So you're creating that activation in the inner thighs. You can make this nice and slow down, slow up, so that you can really experience constant muscle tension through the entire range of motion. Just again commenting on the sweating factor during this phase. So definitely feeling how it only takes a little bit to break a sweat here and rest. The body's cooling so efficiently. And it's a way for your body to stay in it, to stay strong. And I love that even without kind of the jumping around that you might expect, let's begin lateral lunge. You can get that sweat session, that deep burn in the muscles that you might enjoy in your high intensity interval training. You can get that with strength training. You can hear it in my breath that this is serious work. So don't discount a strength training session for what it can provide, for the endorphins it gives you access to. As you build muscle, as you take advantage of this anabolic state in the first half of the cycle and rest, you're building that muscle mass that will support your metabolism, that will help your body operate more efficiently so that you have better energy and you're making better use of your nutrition throughout the day. Going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You'll notice I switched to a single dumbbell for the lateral lunge. My body was just feeling that. I could feel kind of the apprehension building and a bit of resistance. So rather than push through and really strain my shoulders, my neck, I'm just switching to the single dumbbell for this unilateral exercise. If you have lighter weights, by all means, keep them both. You might have them at your shoulders. Or if you still have the grip strength, you can stay heavy with both and rest. Set up your weights for our sumo squat, letting your body rest for about 10 more seconds here, coming into our second round. And we're coming down now, approaching the end of our workout and begin. So our last set is the shortest one, just 2 exercises. Squat down, squeeze the heels together. Feel the activation in the groin, the inner thighs. Here we go. Keep your belly strong. So notice as you start to get tired, does the belly soften or relax? You can keep your deep belly breathing even as you engage the low abdominal. So even as you knit the front ribs and the hip points together, you can still create that deep breath through the nose, out the mouth, and rest. Shaking it out. Second round of our lateral lunges coming up in about 12 seconds. Shake out your grip, shake out your shoulders. Grab your weight, one or both. And let's begin. I'm going to start with my non-dominant side this time. Left leg first. Come down and up. So we're sitting back and down. Knee tracks over the ankle. As best as you can, keep the heart, the chest elevated. You might have a slight forward hinge to make the movement happen, but it's not so much. That'll put a lot of strain on your low back. So keeping that strong axis in the spine so that you don't have any pain in the low back. We're working the legs and inner thighs here. Rest. They're the prime movers to create that key action. Coming into our second side in about 10 seconds. So just kind of stretching it out a bit, letting your heart rate come back down just a touch. Grab your weight and let's begin. Down and up. And up. So 40 seconds, not a terribly long interval, but with heavier weight, you should be feeling like you're hitting that progressive overload. So you're getting to the point of fatigue, maybe even failure. So if you find that before the 40 seconds are up, you're hitting your failure point where you can't complete quality reps, that's the end of your interval. That's where you stop, recover, and come back in for the next interval. Last 3, 2, and 1. Last round of this circuit. Really feeling the heat, the burn in the legs. Stretching them out, just creating a bit of circulation so you don't have any dumping or locking up in the muscles. 2, 1. Let's begin. Sumo squat. Lift it up, squeeze in and down. Squeeze the heels in and lower down. Use the gravity of the weights to find a bit more range in the hips. So really feel that stretch in the inner thighs as you lower down. So you're using the weight to leverage deeper range of motion here. This is our last round of these. Make them count, make them strong. Feel the glutes activate. We're almost there. Last 3, 2, and 1. Set the weights down. Coming into our last round of lateral lunges. Hallelujah. Definitely feeling the burn in the legs here. So you can grab one or both weights. Getting ready in 3, 2, 1. Sit back and down. Press through the heel. Lift up. Find your focus here. This is where the work is in this last round. When your legs are tired, can you use your breath? Can you use your mindset? So focus on the work. Don't let your mind wander. Make this the most interesting thing that you're doing right now. Create the mind-body connection by focusing on the sensations from your body. So that somatic experience that lets you know you are here right now. And rest. Shake it out. We'll go for the second side in 10 seconds. And then we just have our final circuit. 2 exercises in 3 rounds. Grab your weight. Here we go. Squat it down and up. Lower and lift. Press through that working heel. You can feel the stretch in the inner thighs. So this one is a great exercise for mobility because you are demanding range of motion under tension. So it combines strength and mobility, my favorite type of movement pattern. So great for longevity, for practical use throughout your day. 2 and 1. So set the weights down. Enjoy your full minute of rest here. Maybe grab a sip of water. We're setting up for our straight leg deadlift in the next round. Shake it out. Stretch out your arms, your shoulders. So this movement practice, though it is very basic, mechanically speaking, it is so effective for the legs, the glutes, for building a strong foundation to carry you throughout your day. So not only are you working on the lower body strength, but to support the weight, to support your posture and the range of motion, you're also working on postural strength, postural stability in the upper body. So you might find that you want to stand up a little bit taller because that helps protect your low back. You don't feel that twinge through the movement patterns. So get your weights ready. We've got about 20 more seconds here. Notice how you recover pretty quickly. Your heart rate comes back down to its baseline, especially if you are kind of into a sustained strength practice. You'll find that your heart rate is more manageable, so it can go up and down more quickly. Here we go. Let's work. Deadlift, up and slow lower. This one, again, great one for mobility in the hamstrings. So come down only as far as feels appropriate for you, where you don't have any strain in the low back. You don't feel any pulling in the top of the hamstring, so that point where the hamstring connects to the femur. You want to make sure that you're not pulling at that insertion point. So over time, these will help develop mobility in the backs of the legs while also strengthening the hamstrings, the low back, the glutes. So 20-second rest here. We're coming down for our glute bridge. Set your weights up. I'm going to try the 2 bigger dumbbells, see if I can manage the size and shape. Let your feet come down and let's begin. We lift up and lower. Up and lower. So remember, we're not arching the back. If anything, you have a slight tuck of the tailbone under so that you can focus the effort in the glutes. No strain in the lower back. Keep the upper body grounded, anchored, and stable. So you're pressing through the heels, really drive through the heel. You might even lift the toes to kind of emphasize that key action. Last few reps here. And rest. So be mindful as you come up, not too fast. Setting up once again for your straight leg deadlift. Second round. We're coming in on the closing arc of this workout. Here we go. Lift the weights, keep the belly strong, shoulders are relaxed. Lower down and lift up. Down and up. So this circuit, a little bit quicker with just 2 exercises, 2 bilateral exercises. It's only 8 minutes long. And you should be feeling a bit fiery in the legs. Last 5. Use your breath. So that forceful exhale on the exertion. Lower down. Come onto the back for your glute bridge. So this one, it's a lot of work even just to go from supine to standing. So stay with it. 5 more seconds of rest here. And then we'll jump into the work. Here we go. Lift up and lower. Lift up, ribs and hip points together, and lower. Even as you lift, though, keep that spacious quality across the chest and heart. So you have lots of room for the lungs to expand. We're at the end of our second round now. Just one more time through each of these exercises. Breathing here and rest. Set your weights down. Again, slowly come up. Getting ready now for our last round of the straight leg deadlift. Really feeling the sweat. Towel off if you need to. We'll go in 3, 2, 1. Grab those weights, lift it up. Shoulders stay relaxed, belly hugging in. So the upper body moves as a unit, crown to tail. It's simply lowering in space as a function of the hip hinge. So you're not curving the spine, it's staying stable and strong. Let your breath create that sound and rest. Last round of our glute bridge here, and then you'll want to have your resistance band pretty handy. We do have a minute of rest in between, but it will go quickly. And begin. Here we go. Lift up and lower. Lift up and lower. Press through the heels. We're here in our final interval of the strength work. Notice where you're feeling it. Where do you feel the work of this practice? Can you stay in it for a few more seconds? Really squeeze the glutes at the top and rest. So we have a minute in between here. I'm going to shift my timer down onto the floor so that I can keep track. We have 6 exercises that we're performing for 1 minute each. So in about a minute, we will start with our fire hydrant movement pattern. So you'll take your resistance band just above the knee, and you want to make sure you have some pretty significant resistance. So I'm using the medium band of the fabric bands. The heavy one you might be able to work with, but I like to use the medium band just to get a bit more range of motion so I don't hit that stopping point before I'm in full range in the hips. So we'll go in 30 seconds. The fire hydrant, we simply start in tabletop, shoulders over wrists, hips over the knees, and you're just opening one knee out to the side. So these first 2 movement patterns are single-sided. We'll do each side individually for a full minute. So you should really start to feel the glute burn at the end of that minute. We're going in 9 seconds here. Get ready. Draw the low ribs and hip points together. 2, 1. Let's go. Open it out to the side and down. This can be a nice slow and controlled movement, particularly if you're working with a pretty strong resistance band. So you want to keep a micro bend in the elbows. Try to avoid locking the joint and dumping into the elbow there. And as best as you can, keep your shoulders square to the mat so you're not letting them pop open. That'll help focus the activation in the glute, and so that you're not making up for any gaps in mobility by opening the shoulders or rotating the spine. Really focusing on the abduction here in the legs. Last 10 seconds on this side, and then we move right into the second side. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Switch sides to the second side here. Open out and back. Out to the side and back. And notice you might switch the leg that you initiate for the next exercise, because as you might feel, the static leg, so the stationary leg, is pretty fatigued. So you might be feeling that one even as you're working with the opposite side. 30 more seconds here, halfway through this interval. Really tone the belly to support the position of the spine. So not letting it rotate here. Start to feel that heat build up in the glutes, the medial glutes here. Last 5, we're moving to our clamshell next. So you'll come down onto your side, 2 and 1. Lower down onto your side, bend the knees. I like to be up on the forearm, and you can stay with that bottom leg grounded. Really focus on the clamshell. Or, so you're simply opening and closing the knee with the inner edges of the feet staying together. Or you can lift the hips here. For me today, the hips can stay grounded. It's plenty of work already. Opening and closing. We've got about 30 seconds left here. So really keep your upper body stable and focus that action in the glutes. Really squeeze the inner edges of the feet together. Last 15 seconds. You got it. Stay with it. And 5 more seconds. Really feel that burn. This is why it's called a burnout. We're really fatiguing the glutes here. And rest. Switch sides. So right into it. Begin lifting up and lowering. Up and down. Open and close. So again, you feel the fatigue in the first side here. Breathing through. We're about halfway through this interval. You just have 30 more seconds. Stay with it. And then we're working into our final exercise, a bilateral exercise where we're putting the legs in a butterfly position and doing our glute bridge with abduction. 15 more seconds here. Then you'll rotate onto your back. Keep the feet together as you do so. So we're in this similar shape, but we'll be on the back. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come down onto your back. Bring the feet together, so you're coming into a butterfly position, heels close to the hips, and we're lifting up, press out, and down. Up, press out, and down. Out, and down. So I may have said 6 minutes for this burnout, but surprise, it's only 5. So we have our final minute here of work. Up, open, and down. So low ribs, hip points together, and down. Lift up, press out, and down. So slight different position in the feet for the glute bridge. Just targets the outer glutes in a slightly different way. Helps kind of strengthen the sacroiliac joints. If you have any pain there or misalignment, this can help kind of encourage it back into place. Here we go. And rest. Come down. You can let your legs come up, release your band off to the side. That is the end of our burnout. We'll stay on the back here for a bit of cooling movement. It'll be just a few stretches to kind of release the tension from the glutes and legs, but by all means, if you have more time, please let your body cool down completely. We'll start by crossing the right ankle over the left knee. All-time favorite stretch of mine, figure 4. Serves so many functions, but primarily we're opening the outer glutes here. We're flushing the outer thighs. Use your right hand to press the right knee open. And you might just explore side to side where you need this stretch the most. And then from here, let your left foot come down, extend your right leg long, flex the foot, reach for the back of your right thigh, and any amount, just encourage that leg toward you. So again, here, drawing the low ribs in the hip hip points together. And then circle the ankle here. Kind of release the supporting muscles in the lower legs, so the shin, the calf. Point and flex the foot. And then turn your toes to the inside. Really feel that stretch along the outer leg. If you can, press the legs straight. You can really feel that length. And then to the outside. So kind of external rotation in the hip, working into the inner thigh. And then here, bend that right knee out to the side, half happy baby. So encourage the foot down toward the mat beside you. And if you can, square the hips. This time, tilt your pelvis in the opposite direction. So move your pubic bone toward the floor. So you're moving your belly button toward your pubic bone toward the floor. That'll help deepen the stretch in the inner thigh, the groin. And then let that right foot come down, windshield wiper the knees to the left. And here we're just working into the right quad. So if you can, find the top of your right foot. Otherwise, just really anchor the inner right knee into the mat. You can slightly turn the hips to the left so that you feel length across the front side on the right. So the right quad, right hip flexor, lengthening. One more deep breath here. And then we'll slowly come back through center, and we'll do everything now on the other side. So cross left ankle over right knee. Hug the shape of your legs into your body. Figure 4 here. Lots of different ways to enjoy this stretch. You can use your left hand to open the left knee out to the side. You might use your hands behind your right thigh to encourage a bit of a deeper stretch. If you have lots of mobility, you can even reach for the top of the right shin. So hugging the shin into the body, using your left elbow to keep that left knee open. Maybe rocking side to side here, varying the sensation. And then let your right foot come down, extend your left leg long, reach for the back of your left thigh. Flex the foot, send the heel skyward. Any amount, let that leg come toward your body. Circle the foot, one direction, and then the other. You might point and flex. And then start to turn the left toes to the center, so over to the right. Really reach through your heel toward the sky. See if you can straighten that leg. You'll feel that in the outer left leg. Notice your breath rate. Can you create a bit deeper inhale, deeper exhale? Turn the foot out to the side now, external rotation. And then half happy baby, bending that left knee out to the side, tilting the pelvis toward the ground, so pubic bone towards the earth. Shoulders stay square, hips stay square. Really creating some length in the inner thigh. The groin, really counterbalancing all of the lateral lunge action, that sumo squat. This is where you get to feel the benefits of your effort, of your work. And then let the left foot come down, windshield wiper your knees over to the right. Bend the left knee deeply if you can, reach for the top of the left foot and anchor the inner left knee into the mat. You might notice one side a bit tighter than the other. For me, this side feels a little bit harder to get that inner knee to the floor, and that's okay. If you can, tone your left glute muscle, so really squeeze the left glute. That'll help relax the hip flexors here. Signals a release in the front line of the body. And then slowly come back up through center, hug the knees into the chest, give yourself a bit of a squeeze. And in your own way, slowly roll up to a seat. That is our leg and glute workout. Thank you so much for sweating with me today, for humoring me as I moved through a bit of a challenge myself. I hope that it sort of helps you show up in that same way, that we're in this together. And thank you for letting your body be moved.